Imagine a press conference in Washington, 2025. A French politician looks into the cameras and says, "Give us back the Statue of Liberty. You don't deserve her anymore." Journalists gasp, social media explodes with memes, and the White House fires back. She's ours, and France should be grateful to us. For a moment, it feels like the main symbol of the United States might actually be taken away. But this story is just the tip of the iceberg. The Statue of Liberty has always been at the center of scandals. It was born with an idea that flips your view of America upside down. It wasn't supposed to stand in New York, and its true meaning was hidden for decades at the very bottom, near her feet, in iron chains. Today I'll tell you about the scandals around the Statue of Liberty, from the 19th century to right now. Get comfortable. This green lady is not what they told you in school. It all starts not in America, in France, 1860s, Paris. A French lawyer and political thinker, Edouard René de la Boulaye, sits at a table talking about the United States and says something like, "If slavery is ever abolished in the United States, we must give them a monument to liberty." America has just gone through the Civil War. In 1865, slavery is abolished. The North wins. Official slavery is over. La Boulaye dreams of democracy in France, but lives under a repressive regime. He looks at the US and thinks, "There's an example. They managed to abolish slavery. Why can't we become free too?" And then the idea is born. Build a huge statue, a symbol of liberty and the end of slavery, and gift it to America from the people of France. Not from the government, not from a king, but from the people. He calls in a young sculptor, Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi. Bartholdi is already obsessed with giant statues. He's looking for a place to put something so huge it will shock the world. And now comes the first unexpected twist. A few years before the American idea, Bartholdi travels to Egypt. He stands in front of the ancient giant statues at Abu Simbel and falls in love with the scale. There, he gets his first vision. A woman fella, a simple Egyptian peasant in a cloak, holding a torch. The project is called Egypt Bringing Light to Asia, a giant lighthouse at the entrance to the Suez Canal. Yes, the same Statue of Liberty that everyone now associates with America was originally imagined as a Muslim peasant woman at the entrance to the Suez Canal. But the Egyptian ruler, Ismail Pasha, says no. The project is too expensive. And he doesn't like the image of a peasant woman with a torch either. The project is rejected. Bartholdi returns to Europe with folders of sketches, clay models, and an unrealized dream of a giant woman with a torch. And when La Boulaye talks about a monument to liberty for the US, Bartholdi literally dusts off his old project. The peasant woman from Egypt evolves into a classical goddess. The Egyptian lighthouse becomes liberty enlightening the world. And that's where scandal line number 1 begins. Whose image is this really? Egyptian, French, American? Or is it just a redesigned, redressed peasant woman the world knows as Lady Liberty? Then it gets even more interesting. France agrees. Fine, our country will build the monument, and the US will build the pedestal. Sounds simple, but in practice, total chaos. In France, they collect money literally from everyone. Students, workers, cities, small communities. It's not a state project. It's a 19th century version of crowdfunding. The statue is cast in copper in Paris, taken apart into pieces, packed into crates, and prepared to be shipped to the US. And in America, silence. Congress doesn't want to allocate money for the pedestal. There are debates, political fights. Why should we pay for someone else's statue? We have more important things to do. The media mocks the project. In one article, they even tease a woman without arms. They say a living woman with no arms is useless, and so is a bronze one if the US doesn't fund her completion. The statue is practically ready in France, but in New York there is nowhere to put it. A real international fail. At one point an idea appears. If New York doesn't want it, let's give the statue to another city. Boston, Philadelphia. Imagine. Today all tourists would be flying not to New York, but to some other city to see the Statue of Liberty. And when everything is on the verge of collapse, a man steps onto the stage who will trigger the second big scandal. His name is Joseph Pulitzer. Yes, the same one the Pulitzer Prize is named after. It's 1885. The American Committee for the Statue of Liberty has no money, and the project is stuck. In his newspaper, New York World, Pulitzer launches a bold campaign. Give at least 1 cent for the pedestal, and we will print your name in the newspaper. It's a brilliant move. People who never had a chance to leave a mark in history suddenly do. Dock workers, school children, shop clerks, immigrants. Within a few months, Pulitzer raises over $100,000. A huge sum for that time, most of it from small donations by ordinary people. And that's where another conflict is born. The wealthy elites, who hadn't been in a hurry to donate, suddenly see that the monument is becoming a symbol of ordinary people. A statue that was supposed to be a polite gesture from one country to another is taken over by the people, both French and American. But the scandals don't stop there, because the real explosion of emotions comes not from how the statue was built, but from what it actually symbolizes. When you think of the Statue of Liberty, you imagine the torch, the crown, and the tablet with the date of US independence. But almost no one looks at her feet. That's where one of the strongest and at the same time most hidden symbols sits. Near her left foot are broken shackles and a chain. She seems to be stepping forward, leaving them behind. This is not a random detail. The original idea of the monument was directly tied to the abolition of slavery in the United States. Laboulaye wanted to honor this event and inspire the French to fight for their own freedom. But most tourists never see it. From far away, the chains are invisible, and tours rarely focused attention on them. Gradually, the public image of the statue changed. From a monument to the end of slavery, it turned into a symbol of welcome immigrants and a vague, abstract freedom. Later, a famous poem was added to the statue, the one about the tired, poor, huddled masses. And the focus shifted even more toward immigration, not slavery. The text is a separate poem written by Emma Lazarus, not part of the original project. In the 20th century and later, activists would regularly remind everyone, hey, this monument was originally about African Americans, about the abolition of slavery. But the official tourist story quietly downplayed that. And here comes the second big scandal. Is America trying to whitewash its history, literally hiding the chains of freedom down below where no one looks? On this foundation, another loud and very persistent legend grows. Rumors start spreading online. Supposedly, the first version of the Statue of Liberty was a black woman, a symbol of freed slaves. But shameful American politicians refused this version, and Bartholdi was forced to redo the face as white. People pick up the story, discuss it, add details, right up to claims that the real black statue is hidden somewhere in New York's catacombs, or that it was left in France. Historians say there is no evidence. Documents, sketches, models, everything shows Bartholdi worked with a classical female figure, not a specific race. But the important thing is this: Why did this myth become so popular? Because it hits a raw nerve. In a country where slavery existed for centuries, where the fight for African American rights didn't end in the 20th or even in the 21st century, it's easy to believe that even the symbol of liberty could have been reshaped to fit a political demand. So, the myth of the Black Statue of Liberty is not so much about bronze as it is about distrust of power and the feeling that our story is always being rewritten. Here's another small but telling mini scandal: the color. At first, the Statue of Liberty wasn't green at all. It was brown, the color of fresh copper. It was a shiny metallic surface. Only over decades, under air and moisture, the copper became covered with a green patina, the color we now consider normal for the statue. When the color started changing, the press and the public asked, "What's wrong with her? Is she rusting? Should we repaint her?" Later, it turned out that the green patina is natural protection for the metal, and it's better not to touch it. Today, the idea of repainting the Statue of Liberty sounds ridiculous, but back then some people were genuinely outraged. We paid for one thing and got something different. Now, we come back to the present. French member of the European Parliament, Raphael Glucksmann, speaks at a political event and says live, on air, "Give us back the Statue of Liberty. If you despise her values, you don't deserve to keep her." He criticizes US policy for cutting aid to Ukraine, for getting closer to authoritarian regimes, for pressure on science and research, for harsh moves in migration policy. Basically, he says, a country that once was a symbol of freedom is now acting like a state that betrays those ideals. The White House responds instantly and sharply. The press secretary reminds everyone that the US helped liberate France twice during the World Wars, and throws a line along the lines of, "France should be grateful to us, not demanding anything back." Politicians argue, diplomats smooth things over. Official Paris isn't actually going to take the statue away. Legally, it's impossible. The monument belongs to the US and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but the media wave is already rolling. Memes about the Statue of Liberty in Paris, photoshops of her being moved to Kiev or Berlin, and heated debates. Does the US still represent freedom to the world? Has the statue turned into a pretty background for tourist selfies, completely detached from reality? Glucksmann later explains, it was a symbolic gesture, a provocation to make the world think about whether US policy still matches what's written in bronze and copper. But the phrase, "Give us back the Statue of Liberty," is already living its own life. The scandal works. Everyone remembers, what does she really stand for? If we put all the episodes together, we see a strange picture. The Statue of Liberty was conceived as a monument to the end of slavery, with broken chains at her feet and a political message against tyranny. She almost became an Egyptian lighthouse, a peasant woman at the Suez Canal. She wasn't wanted in the US at first, was mocked in newspapers, and they even suggested giving her to another city. She was erected thanks to crowdfunding by ordinary people, not the generosity of the elites. Her real anti-slavery meaning was almost erased, replaced by a comfortable story about immigrants and the American dream. Myths grew up around her, like the Black Statue, which show how painful race issues remain in the US. And even today, political scandals flare up around her, up to calls to take her back to France because America has supposedly betrayed her ideals. Maybe the main scandal isn't in the statue, it's in us. Every generation tries to rewrite the meaning of this bronze woman. For some, she's a beacon for immigrants. For others, a sign of the end of slavery. For others, just a selfie backdrop. And for some, a betrayed ideal standing in the harbor of a country that's no longer the leader of freedom. A question for you. Imagine that one day you see the headline, France really wants to reclaim the Statue of Liberty. Negotiations begin. What would you feel? Relief, like this symbol hasn't matched reality for a long time? Or outrage? How can they take away part of US history? And now another question. Is it really more important where the Statue of Liberty stands, or whether there is freedom where we stand? Because you can move the Green Lady, take her apart, hide her in a museum. But the real scandal begins when the words on the pedestal and the broken chains at her feet no longer match what we actually do.